What is going on, you guys? I hope you guys are having a great day. And today, thank you for continuing with me for my Terminator review series. Today, I am now talking about Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. Now, this movie came out in 2003, and that was about 12 years after the second movie. And this is the first film in the franchise to not be directed by James Cameron or even written by him. I think he wrote the first two. But, anyways, so the people who created this film had a lot of expectations behind them with what they could do with this franchise without the lead creator behind them. This film picks up about 10 years later after the second film, and Nick Stahl plays John Connor in this one, and he's now 25 years old and he's trying to run from his past. And then it turns out that Skynet has sent another Terminator back in time known as the TX, played by Kristina Loken, who's been sent back not to kill him, but to kill his lieutenants who helped him rise as a military leader to take down Skynet. And one of those targets happens to be John Connor's future wife, Catherine Brewster, played by Claire Danes. Now, I will have to say that this movie does have a lot of mixed reception behind it. Now, while I do enjoy it, and while I have watched it a lot as a kid or when I was a teenager, this movie is pretty mixed as far as I know. Now, but let's start off with what worked for me. What worked for me is, again, Arnold Schwarzenegger as the T-101 is brought back again in this one. He is just as good as he was in the previous two because, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger practically owns the role, so you can't really replace a guy like him for this role. So he practically owns it here. And that's one thing I love about him. I love the small bits of humor we get with him to where, like, he walks into a bar that's meant for like ladies night and he's scanning all the women to figure out what kind of clothes he can wear, and then instead of saying no you can't wear that, it'll say mismatch, and then for one it'll say inappropriate, which I thought was pretty funny. In fact, I still think it's funny. And also, like, after he gets the clothes, he puts on a pair of glasses, and you think it's like that scene from Terminator 2 where he puts the regular sunglasses on and he's all tough and badass. He puts them on, and it's those star glasses you get like from the 70s, which I thought was really funny. I liked it. That's pretty good humor in this movie. And I just like his character overall. And now he's sent back in time to protect John Connor once again after the first movie, except this is a different Terminator this time. And I do think that Claire Danes as Kate Brewster is pretty badass in this movie. She almost brings forward what Sarah Connor did in the previous two movies, especially the second one, but not quite there. But again, she does what she's given very well, and I do think that she was a really good character in the movie. Also, the TX model, played by Kristina Loken, I like this Terminator a little bit because what they did was they basically took the previous two Terminators from the previous two movies and combined them into one. This one is both not only a cyborg, but it's also liquid metal at the same time. So this Terminator can do a lot more than what the previous two could. And I kind of like that new idea they went for here. Also, the action in this movie is really good. The car chases are amazing. The shootouts are awesome. Now, there are some instances where you can tell that it's CGI, but again, I can live with it. It's definitely an entertaining movie by a long shot. And unfortunately, that's where my positives kind of stop with this movie because there's quite a few issues I have with it. For one thing, this movie is too quick. Like, it's the shortest film in the franchise as far as I know. This movie feels like it's 90 minutes. Yeah, it feels that way. It feels like 90 minutes, and I think it's way too quick for me. And also the way that it ended, it felt kind of abrupt, and it felt like setup for what the next film was, Terminator Salvation, which we're going to get to later on. And while I do appreciate the new stuff they were trying to go for, they didn't necessarily stick the landing with it. And the biggest complaint I have for this movie is Nick Stahl as John Connor. I don't know what the hell they did with this character, but all I can say is that I don't think it was Nick Stahl's fault for the way he acts in this movie as John Connor. I think it might have been the writer's fault. But John Connor in this movie acts like one of the biggest wimps ever. Whereas if you watch the second movie, you know that he's a tough 13-year-old kid who can get away with almost anything. He's not afraid. He doesn't really fear anything, but you can still get behind him and you can still root for him. In this movie, I wasn't really rooting for John Connor at all. I honestly did not like him that much in this movie. I thought he was very watered down. I thought that he was too wimpy, and like he's always saying to someone, "You don't have to do that. No, you can't do this." And I'm like, "Dude, toughen up, please. You're like 25 now." It's like, come on. Like it's like he switched out his persona. It's like now he went from tough 13-year-old kid to very wimpy 25-year-old. And it just does not work for me at all. Another thing about this movie that doesn't work is okay, remember how I said how the TX is going after John Connor's lieutenants in this movie? Okay, that was a new idea that I actually really liked because they wanted to change something up for this movie, whereas in the first movie, the Terminator goes back and tries to go after Sarah Connor before John Connor's even born, and then in the second movie, they go after John Connor himself when he was 13, and in this movie, they're saying, okay, we can't kill John Connor, it didn't work, so let's try to go after his lieutenants, the people who helped him, so that way he can't have the help that he needs to get to the top. And I like that idea, but unfortunately, they don't fully utilize it. Like the first half hour of this movie, maybe even less of that, is the TX going after John Connor's lieutenants and successfully killing all of them, or most of them. But unfortunately, I think the people who made the movie weren't brave enough to approach that new direction they wanted to go in, because at some point in the film, the TX discovers a blood sample, licks it, and then is able to scan the blood and finds out that it's John Connor. So it's like, wait, now the TX is going after John Connor now? It's like they wanted an excuse to have John Connor in the movie and for the TX to go after him, which, not really a bad thing, but with this wimpy John Connor and the fact that this Terminator was sent back for this one purpose and now she's going after this new purpose, it doesn't really work for me. So I think that the movie could have worked better if she had continuously gone after Kate Brewster the whole time. And she does go after Kate Brewster as well at some points during the film, but she's going after both of them. And it's honestly kind of annoying when she's going after both John Connor and Kate Brewster, because if she was just after Kate Brewster for majority of the film, it probably would have been a little bit better, because now John Connor has to be the protector of this woman, whereas before John Connor had to be protected by his mom as well as by this new Terminator, by the T-101 from the second movie. And for me, they just weren't brave enough to face that fact that that's what they wanted to do. But overall, this movie is fine. I would recommend checking it out, but if anything, if I'm being honest with you guys, as far as third films go in this franchise, I actually prefer Dark Fate over this one. I'm not going to lie. I prefer Dark Fate over it. But guys, I will say, this movie, it's kind of a mixed bag, and I can rewatch it again, but not very often. So guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to my next video, which will be Terminator Salvation, and I will see you guys next time.